This page concerns the prehistory of Brittany. Paleolithic. Brittany was never glaciated during the Quaternary, owing to its latitude, proximity to the coast and absence of significant mountain ranges. However, even though free of glaciers, Paleolithic Brittany was extremely cold compared to its present climate, with annual mean temperatures at the last glacial maximum estimated at -3 degrees Celsius. Permafrost was present with only a very shallow active layer estimated at only 1 foot thawing each summer, so that only a very light cover of tundra could grow. This vegetation could only support very low densities of grazing mammals like reindeer, which are found today only in areas then uninhabitable due to the presence of thick ice sheets. Consequently, few if any people could survive in Brittany prior to the end of the last glaciation, and only a few Paleolithic sites are known from Brittany, like the rock shelter of Prehistory near Rochefort. The only cave site known so far is Rock H. Tool in a sandstone promontory near Geekland. The cave contained about 200 artifacts and was dated to the late Magdalenian Mortalet. Because of the presence of points with curved backs, it is now connected with the Epipaleolithic Assylian. Other Assylian sites include Park and Plinen and Nesgenok. Mesolithic. The best-known Mesolithic sites from Brittany are the cemeteries on the islands of Hodik and Teakut Viec in Morbihan. The collective graves are placed in shell middens without any particular order. Some graves show evidence of post-mortal manipulations of the bones. There are single burials and empty graves as well. The graves are covered with stones, a hearth or antlers forming a sort of dome. Rich funeral gifts, flint tools, engraved bones, shell ornaments and ochre demonstrate the affluence of these hunter-gatherers, or rather fisher-gatherers. Certain shells are sex-specific. In Tevik there are stone-cist graves. The bones of an infant have been post-mortally ornamented with striations. The corresponding settlements consist of shell middens. A radiocarbon date of 4625 for Hodik places it in the 6th millennium BC Cal, rather late in the Mesolithic sequence, and indeed there are some indications of contact with agricultural societies to the east. Their economy was based on marine resources. Recently, a number of accelerator dates have been published for Hodik. In Beg and Dorchen in Pluma, domestic dog and cattle were already present. In Dissignac, microliths were associated with pollen evidence for clearances. Some scholars speculate that megalithic graves might go back to the Mesolithic, but this contention is difficult to prove, as most structures have been reused. Large numbers of microliths have been found under the chambered tomb of Dissignac fr. Tumulus de Dissignac, Neolithic. The westernmost extensions of the Villeneuve Saint-Germain culture, based on a linear band ceramic tradition, are found in eastern Brittany at L'Ome Acute. The use of schist from the eastern edge of the Breton Massif for bracelets in settlements in the Paris Basin attests to widespread trade. A bracelet of polished stone found in a grave in the VSG settlement of Jablines-les-Longs-Rise was made of amphibolite from the island of Groix, in southern Morbihan, proves trade with local Mesolithic communities. The earliest long mounds date to the mid-5th millennium. The early passage graves generally date to between 4000 and 3000 BC, followed by Vov passage graves between 3000 to 50 BC. In the later part of the Neolithic, Alas cuvities and simple dolmens became the predominant type of burial monument. Some passage graves are decorated with incised lines, of which Gavrinas is probably the best-known example. Some scholars see an influence of the Central European linear band ceramic culture in the finds from the long barrows of Manat-Iec in Manat-Pochat. but this should rather be connected to the Loget tradition, ultimately of cardial extraction. Cairn pottery, thin-walled, round-based deep bowls, often with applied crescents, is typical for early chambered tombs. It is found in Finistère, Morbihan and Loire-Atlantique. Middle Neolithic settlements include La Motte, La Butte-aux-Pierres and Lannick. They mainly concentrate on the coast. The pottery shows Chassean influences. Bowls are still round-bottomed but with S-shaped profiles and vertically perforated lugs. Some geometric decoration occurs, but is rather rare. Vase supports of chassis type are found as well. The Breton variety has been named the Erlanic type and is characterized by triangular perforations, while the examples found in the Channel Islands show circular perforations. Other local pottery types include Castelic grooved ware, Soucy ware, and Colpo type ware. Stone circles like Erlanic sometimes contain settlement material and pottery of Chassean type. By the middle of the 3rd century, the Caribou, Upper and Lower Congil and Rosma Crocollier types became preponderant. Seine-Ouest-Marne culture-influenced pottery in central Brittany includes the Quissayan Crech quill, Limelis types. Collared bottles can be related to the Kragen Flash and Horizont of the late TBK. For the late 3rd millennium, Grand Pressany flint was imported in some quantity. Some type of Breton axes were exported. For example, dolerite axes made at Plasoulian have been found in Britain. The dolmen Manet Lud at Locmoyaka is thought to show a picture of a boat. Beak material is known from some settlement sites, for example Castelcos. Other beakers were found in rivers. Marine beakers predominate. AOC decoration is found in southern Brittany. Small gold plaques are known from beaker graves. In Carouaire and a diadem has been found. There is no indication that the beaker people already exploited the Armorican metal deposits. Bronze Age. The early Bronze Age culture is commonly believed to have grown out of beaker roots, with some Wessex and Unetice influence. In the early Bronze Age, rich individual graves are found under barrows, which indicates a complete change of the social structure. The Breton barrows have been divided into 2 series by Cognet and Guillet, the first dating from 1900 to 1600 BC, the second to 1600 to 1400 BC. The barrows of the first series can be up to 50 meters in diameter and 6 meters high. They are found in western Brittany, along the coast, the Blave River and at the southern border of the Monts d'Arrée. A few examples have been recorded from Normandy. The barrows contain a small cairn over a stone cist, wooden coffin, a dry stone structure containing the burial. Often the chambers are covered by large stone slabs. Sometimes roofed mortuary houses are found, for example at St. Jude and Bourbriac. The stone cists can be quite large, up to 4 meters long, but always only contain a single body. Grave gifts include amber beads, silver cups, gold-hilted daggers, tanged flint arrowheads and stoned axes. Because of these rich grave goods, J. Briard sees them as burials of warrior priests. Certainly not everybody was buried in this way, but nothing is known of commoner burials, especially as bones are not normally preserved in the acidic soils of Brittany. The gold pin decoration of the dagger hilts and the amber beads show close connection to the Wessex culture, but there are technical differences. The barrow of Kernon and Ploughbourne, Finistère, provides a good example of a rich burial of the first series. The barrows of the second series are a bit smaller and show a more inland distribution. They do not normally contain metal, but numerous pottery vessels, high biconical vessels, sometimes with a geometric decoration under the rim, or single four-handled undecorated pots. There seems to be no division of the grave goods by gender. Glass beads are found in some graves, for example at Mesnab at Plouhinec. A number of radiocarbon dates are known from the barrows. The later part of the early Bronze Age saw the beginning of the exploitation of the Armorican tin deposits. Numerous hoards contain tools and weapons, but metalwork is rarely found in burials or settlements, which makes the synchronization of hoards and settlements difficult. The Trebole group of hoards is thought to be contemporaneous with the second series barrows. Decorated spearheads, flanged axes, palstaves and long daggers are typical. The hoard from Bignant contained only bronze jewelry. Coastal sortins are known from the late Bronze Age onwards as well, for example at Kernick, Giseni. Pollen analysis shows that widespread clearance of the beech forests took place in the early Bronze Age. Cereal pollen have been found at Porchquen, Plescat, for example. Domestic animals included sheep, goats and cattle, but hunting may have still provided a lot of meat. La Roche-Vidals has still 60% wild animals among the animal bones, but it is not clear if this is typical. Carbonized remains of naked wheat and barley have been found at Ploughneau-Tres. Hazelnuts and acorns were eaten as well. Flint still formed an important part of the tool inventory. Some standing stones and stone alignments date to the early Bronze Age, for example the Grand Menhir Brisset at Lokmuyaka. The later Bronze Age sees only a slight Urnfield influence. Hoards are numerous. The St. Brieuc des Ifs phase marks the beginnings of the Atlantic bronze industries. It is succeeded by the Carpstone complex, found in Britain and Portugal as well. The square-socketed Armorican axes turn up in hoards in great numbers. At Morro de Britannia over 4,000 axes have been found. California, 800 at Trayau and Laudayac. The axes are mainly unused and may have been a form of ingot of primitive currency. They contain a high amount of lead or consist of pure lead and are distributed from the Iberian Peninsula to eastern Germany, Ireland and southern Britain, with some pieces from Scotland, Poland and Switzerland. Different regional types are known. Brandivy and Morbihan, the Hohe and Lorien on the north coast, Trayau and Finisterre. The miniature types of Morro de Britannia, Ille-Vilaine and Couville are typical of Upper Brittany. Copper was imported from Spain as plano convex ingots, as found in the hoard of Pentfowl, Landelau. Settlements have rarely been excavated. Ploubaslanec at the mouth of the Trieu is an example of a fortified village. The Museum of Prehistory in Karnak has large quantities of late Bronze Age bronze and copper artifacts from the Atlantic Bronze Age culture. This culture was a maritime trading networked culture that included Brittany and most of the rest of France, the other Celtic nations, England, Spain and Portugal. According to John T. Koch, Barry Cunliffe, Carl, and Watko, Celtic languages developed in the intense interactions of this culture with the Tartessian language, the first written language so far discovered for this era. But this view stands in contrast to the more generally accepted view of Celticists that their origin lies with the Central European Hallstatt culture and that Tartessian cannot be classified as Celtic at all. I and H. A variety of tribes are mentioned in Roman sources, like the Veneti, Armoricani, Ozami, Namnites and Corostolites. Strabo and Poseidonius describe the Armoricani as belonging to the Belgi. Armorican gold coins have been widely exported and are even found in the Rhineland. Sortins are widespread in northern Armorica, for example at Tregor, Ebians and Anesvahan near Pliamur-Bodu and the island of Yok near Landuvez of late Latin date. An estimated 40 to 55 kilograms of salt per oven were produced at Ebians. Each oven was about 2 meters long. The site dates to the end of the early Latin of the Middle Latin period. Numerous briquettage remains have been found. A Traeger, Boudin and a Calage were the typical form of bracketage, between 2, 5 and 15 centimeters long and with a diameter between 4 to 7 centimeters. At the Sortons at Landrelec and in Esfahan at Plymouth-Bodou, the remains of rectangular ovens have been excavated that are 2, 5 to 3 meters long in California, 1 meter wide and constructed of stones and clay. On the Gulf of Morbihan about 50 Sortons have been found so far, mainly dating to the final Ate acute NE period. For subsequent periods of Brittany's past, see Armorica and History of Brittany. Bibliography. Bowen, E.G. Saints, Seaways and Settlements in the Celtic Lands. Cardiff, University of Wales Press. ISBN 0-900768-304. Mania, Jean-Jacques and Amp Cassard, Jean-Christophe, with a team of scholars of the Breton Universities of Brest, Nantes, and Rennes. Toute l'histoire de Bretagne, in Britain and in Brittany, 800 pages. Morlaix, Editions Scolvrige. ISBN 2-903313-954. Donner, Noël Yves Naissance de la Bretagne, 621 pp. Angers, Prestil Université d'Angers. Fleuriot, L'Écouto en les origines de la Bretagne. Paris. Ed. PO ISBN 2-228-127108. Dillon, Miles, Chadwick, Nora and Amp Garvach, Christian J. Les Royaumes Celtiques, Librairie Arthim Falliard, 1974, ISBN 2-213-00778. Dillon, Miles and Amp Chadwick, Nora. The Celtic Realms. London, Weidenfeld and Nicholson. L'Histoire de la Bretagne et des Pays Celtiques. Morlaix, Scolvrige, 1966. Le Moine de la Borderie. Arthur. Histoire de la Bretagne, 6 volume. 4 Clifton editor. Imprimerie Vata, Rennes 1905-1914. Lobineau, Dom. Histoire de Bretagne, 2 volume. Folio Paris, Vouf Muguet. Morris, Dom and Amp Thaïlandia, Dom. Histoire de Bretagne, 2 volume. Folio, Paris, Vouf Veliget, 1750-1756. Morris, Dom and Amp Thaïlandia, Dom. Memoires pour servir de prouver l'histoire de Bretagne, 3 volume. Folio, Paris, C. H. Osmond, 1742-1746.